Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Reuben from Singapore Fintech Association. Thank you for having me here today. My topic for today is how banks and fintech are leveraging technology innovations for improvement. Well, I'm very heartened to know that everything that I have in my slides are actually already been spoken by all the speakers, all the esteemed speakers that we have so far. So at least I know I'm on the right track. I hope that in my sharing, I can still give you a different perspective and perhaps some insights as well. So why is this important? I kind of want to take you through this journey of why is this partnership and why is technology awareness being so important, especially for the banking sector. And I will probably also touch on what kind of technology which already a lot of our esteemed speakers have already mentioned about, and also maybe something to look out for. Now, one thing that probably I want to highlight here is that the changing demographic. Because when it comes to banking, at the end of the day, banking is a horizontal. Banking is a horizontal. And when you're horizontal, it means that you're all at the subject of geopolitics, macro environment, consumer habits, buying habits, aging, trends, social. So as a result, understanding this whole framework will be actually very helpful to know that at the end of the day, a lot of things are changing. And in fact, when we say changing, this is actually a very real critical point, because if you look at globally, a lot of things are things that we actually didn't see it coming. So I'll give you an example. We talk about aging population. So maybe 10, 15 years ago, we said that Japan is the one that's aging. Everyone's getting old. There's no new people coming in. But guess what? Even China is now facing this similar challenge. Many years ago, China insists only one-child policy. Recently, they opened to 2, and now they actually open up to 3. Why? Because they are also facing a situation where they do not have enough young people replacing them. And to some extent, India may be also heading towards the same situation. Give you a case in point about, so Singapore, we always have low replacement ratio. Ours has always been about 0.9 to 0.92. In Korea, they are actually now suffering with the worst at 0.7. So can you imagine what happened is that it will actually change the face of banking. It will change the way your customers, your corporate customers need their goods and services. And so are we looking at increase in healthcare, increase in biopharma, pharmaceutical? We are looking at increase in adult and aging care. So these are all changing demographics that we need to be mindful of. And of course, with sustainability, with green, there's so much to cover. Another part that I want to bring to you, why is it important, is because on the right-hand side, you will see, these are all from McKinsey, how big your sector is. Over trillions of dollars. And this market will only get bigger and bigger. Looking at India with almost 1.2 to 1.4 billion population, you need technology to scale. So there is no way that you can be ahead of the curve or even compete effectively without the right use of technology and the whole approach. On the left side, we mentioned about regulation. A lot of these things have already been covered by all my various speakers. I want to just maybe call a few more things that we have mentioned earlier. AI regulation was very well pointed out earlier. This is actually very important because at the end of the day, you do not want to be subject to these biases. I can give you a very simple case example. When we always talk about AI, we are always talking about how it affects our customers. I have actually heard a case where a bank used a very big HR software tech firm. During COVID, they actually have the capability of telling you what up to 70 to 75% accuracy of whether your employees are going to leave in the next 6 months. And that's all done by simply your keystroke, mouse strokes, FaceTime, and all these various timings. So it goes to show that when it comes to using AI and using all these different solutions, it's not just only a matter of outward facing and sales, but it's also inward operations as well. So there are all those big implications you can look at when it comes to AI regulations. I'm mindful of time, so let me just speed up here. This is just really one, again, it wasn't from me, it's from some of the research that we've done, but it just goes to show that actually many years ago, we used to say that AI, fintech is kind of like a competitor to banks, and over time you are seeing that now they're actually working together hand in hand, and this whole fin and tech really comes together, and this is actually one example to show you how there are corresponding solutions. It's a word cloud that we kind of put together to share with you when we say technology and banks and MBA. What should we look out for? This is really kind of just one example here. Now, what technologies then specifically I would like to call out for today? Again, I think this has been spoken about from our first speaker to, I will assume, to the end of the conference. So I would just want to briefly touch on this. Again, this is also from McKinsey. I just want to highlight that there is really a lot of potential here, both in and out. So when I say in and out, I mean both outward-facing operation sales, when it comes to sales, when it comes to improving efficiency, as well as inward-looking when it comes to your own operations. And when you say what kind of operations, then this is just really one example to share with you on various efficiency and cost savings that you can have there. What happened is right now in Singapore, within Singapore Fintech Association, we actually have a bank working group where we have all the major banks in Singapore are part of this working group. And one thing we really recognize is that they are now looking at really building pilots to see how they can support their own thing, their own sales engagement. And more importantly, it's really not so much, I just want to emphasize again, at this juncture, it's not so much, job displacement will always be a long-term fear. If you guys are very interested in the research, actually in Singapore, through our regulator Monetary Authority of Singapore, they have been already developing a lot of these insights for all of us, and these are all public, free to share. Coming this year, there will actually be a report on artificial intelligence and its impact on banking sector. So we will even map out what are the jobs that are at risk. We are even highlight what are the job opportunities, etc. So those will be coming out soon. Another thing I want to highlight to you is open banking leading to open finance. This is one area that I really want to applaud India. The world is actually very proud of India, and we're all looking at India. From the time, and I'm not mincing my words here, from the time that I stand to be corrected, when you have the digital identity, all the way to UPI, direct QR code payments, this whole system that the central bank have put everything together, where now every Indian have a digital identity, both corporate, individual, and through payments, and building the whole ecosystem together. The world is looking, and the world is actually very, very amazed at what India has achieved because of your sheer size and the ability to actually carry this out. But all these things will have an impact on what we call open banking. Because once the information becomes democratized and everyone has equal access, it also means that the competition now no longer just belongs to where's the best price. I'll give you a case in point. When you are buying a car and you're buying a house and you need a loan, is there loyalty towards the bank that you borrow from? Probably not. You'll be comparing prices. When it comes to, so in this case, once data becomes more available, then the tech companies that are a lot more nimble will be in a position to create something that will be more effective and able to capture audience. In fact, if you observe, I sideline here, if you observe in digital banks around the world, you realize that actually those digital banks, they are doing very well. From Monzo Bank in UK to Kakao Bank in Korea, what they really have grappled very well is the user experience and user journey. And that itself actually gave an edge. And that's where, if you look at in Thailand right now, in the digital banking space, what is interesting is that it's not the tech companies that are coming up and applying for digital license, it's the local banks. They are now trying to apply for digital bank license. And so that it gives them a fresh restart to rejuvenate this piece. And why I want to highlight open banking is because this is not just only a trend or it's something that only happening probably in India, but it's actually happening around the world. And this also means that there's a lot more tech solutions, open fintech solutions that are out there available to support the whole journey of API integration. And these are just maybe some examples that I have from you. They are started from different parts of the world, some fintech companies. Blockchain. So blockchain has also been alluded to earlier. There are multiple, I know blockchain didn't really start well because everyone talk about blockchain in terms of crypto. And crypto is a risk, people lose money over crypto. I totally understand that. But I think there are very, very good applications that we can learn from the technology of blockchain. And unfortunately, I think right now blockchain is still going through the journey of helping people to understand. And I like what our first speaker mentioned about how you can actually use blockchain and AI and stack different solutions together. So I think it's about understanding the integrity and the specific functions that blockchain can give to you. What I have here on the screen for you is that one interesting use case when it comes to fund transfer, cross-border payments. So there's a lot of conversation about using CBDC, and in the market, there are a lot of companies using stable coins. So what I have on the right is just a table to kind of illustrate for you. It's taken from A16Z crypto. So this again just to share with you how stable coins can be a way of transmitting and cross-border payment, bringing down the cost by a lot. Interestingly, I have just made a fund transfer. My company just made a fund transfer to someone in Bangladesh, Singapore to Bangladesh in USD. It took us 6 days with 4 corresponding banks through the whole system. And in between, we expensed about close to $200 of fees. And until now, that payment has still not gone through. So I think that's just really a case example to show you that how stablecoins or blockchain can be used in some of these areas. But I want to emphasize that blockchain is not just the one solution. You do need to stack it up with other things as well. These are two examples that I have to share with you how companies are using blockchain to move forward with things. So on my right-hand side, we have an insurance company in Singapore called Income that actually kind of tokenize and sell and sell their shares. On my left-hand side, I have also example on how we have using blockchain to tokenize ownership of whiskies. Right, so what are the other more technology? And this is again very well covered by my earlier speakers, but a couple of things I just want to call out here. Quantum has been already highlighted. Next thing is from Gen AI, now we're talking about agentic AI. The next thing that you're probably looking at will be action AI. So this is how when you start to combine AI with robotics, when you start to combine Gen AI with a lot of other things, where you start to make decisions for you, it will actually revolutionize a lot of things that we are familiar with as well. One more thing I want to call out is hardware. And I know that we have talked about chips earlier, but hardware is really one big observation that we want to know, we want to observe, because everyone now is holding on to a phone. As I can see on all your hands, everyone's holding on to a phone. But the banking that we know today was only made possible when iPhone and Samsung first came out with a touchscreen phone. But this technology has been pretty much, if you look at iPhone 16, if you look at S25, that just been released 2 weeks ago, it hasn't really changed a lot. It's just about faster processing. It has been about better cameras, and of course right now we are talking about a lot of AI being put inside there. But observe the technology. If you are familiar with IPs and patents, it may be in your interest to conduct some patent searching to see where are the future of this tech hardware is going to, so that you can actually have a sense of what is going to change in terms of the way our lifestyle will be affected. I'll give you an example. Some of you may be using folding phones, the foldable phones that Samsung has. For those who have been observing and reading patents, 4 years before the product was launched, that patent has been filed already. So people who are in the space are really aware that this is something that's going to be brought to market. Right, so I mean, one last thing that I just want to, skipping all this, if you have interest to come to Singapore, I do encourage you to come to Singapore Fintech Festival that's happening on 12th November. And if you're interested in a lot of reports that we have here, this is just maybe a QR code that you can scan where we have all the free publications for you. All right, and mindful of time with that, I end my presentation. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.